Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Who's driving your mind right now? Is it you, or is it your fears, your doubts, your distractions? See, the biggest battlefield in life is not in the economy, not in the government, not in your job or your business. The biggest battlefield is between your ears. Mental chaos is the silent assassin of dreams. It's that voice that whispers, "You're not enough. You'll never make it. What if you fail?" But I came to tell you today, you do not have to live like that. You were designed with a sound mind, not a broken mind, not a confused mind, not a tormented mind, a sound mind, a disciplined mind, a mind under your authority. And the first step to reclaiming your mind is this: recognize the noise, that mental clutter you've been tolerating. It's not truth. It's just familiar. And familiarity doesn't mean act. Sometimes we rehearse our pain more than we practice our purpose. Stop rehearsing what went wrong. Start rehearsing what can go right. The second step is rewire the language. You don't need a better opportunity, you need better interpretation. You're not overwhelmed, you're in high demand, you're not stuck, you're gathering strength. Oh, you're not late, you're being launched. Recognizing the mental noise is the first and most critical step toward reclaiming control of your mind. Mental chaos doesn't always show up as loud, dramatic breakdowns. Most often, it's subtle, sneaky, and disguised as normal thoughts. It's the background chatter you've accepted as truth. It's the automatic self-talk you've allowed to repeat on a loop without question. It sounds like, "I'm not ready. This always happens to me. What if I fail?" And you've heard it so many times, you've mistaken it for your voice. But it's not your voice. It's your conditioning. It's the residue of past pain, past people, and past programming. And it doesn't belong to your future. You cannot change what you do not confront. That internal noise may seem harmless, but it's constantly directing your decisions, your reactions, and your energy. You think you're procrastinating, but it's the voice of fear running the show. You think you're just tired, but it's the weight of unprocessed thoughts draining your mental bandwidth. The mind, when left unchecked, becomes a breeding ground for confusion and hesitation. The longer you allow it to run wild, the more difficult it becomes to separate reality from distortion. So if you're going to rise, you must begin with awareness. And recognizing the noise means you learn to observe your thoughts instead of obeying them. You take a step back and say, "Hold on, whose voice is that? Where did I pick that up? And why am I still giving it permission to operate in my life?" That's not being hard on yourself. That's taking responsibility. It's turning the lights on in your mind and refusing to live in the dark any longer. Some of the thoughts you entertain daily are nothing more than echoes of experiences you never fully healed from. Maybe someone told you as a child that you weren't good enough. And now every time you try to level up, that statement replays itself, not in their voice, but in yours. That's how mental chaos hides. It disguises itself as your identity. But hear this, you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts, and that means you have the authority to choose which ones stay and which ones must go. About recognizing mental noise also requires you to slow down. Mental chaos loves speed and distraction. If you're constantly jumping from task to task, screen to screen, meeting to meeting, you'll never notice the toxic thought patterns you're carrying. Stillness reveals what busyness conceals. And in that stillness, you begin to see what's been robbing you of your peace. You see the thought that tells you to stay quiet when you should speak. You see the habit of bracing for disaster even when things are going well. You see the irrational fear of success that hides behind your perfectionism. And once you see it, you can't. This is not about fighting your mind, it's about mastering it. And mastery starts with recognition. You don't have to believe every thought that shows up. You don't have to accept every mental notification that pops up like an alert. You can say, "Not now," "Not true," or that's no longer my story. You can challenge the chaos. You can question the narrative. You can pause before you spiral, because mental freedom doesn't begin with control. It begins with clarity. And clarity comes when you start paying attention. Rewiring your internal language is one of the most powerful things you can do to take back control of your mind. Your words are not just sounds, they are seeds. Every time you speak, you're planting something. You're either planting power or planting poison. And the harvest always matches the seed. If you walk around saying things like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm not good at this, nothing ever works out for me, you are not just describing your life, you're directing it. The mind doesn't know the difference between truth and repetition. Whatever it hears the most, it starts to believe, and whatever it believes, it starts to look for. The danger with internal language is that most of it is subconscious. You don't even realize how often you speak against yourself. You shrug off compliments, you downplay your gifts. You turn setbacks into identity statements. I failed becomes, I'm a failure. That's not humility, that's self-sabotage in disguise. You've got to become intentional about the language you use when you talk to yourself, because the most influential voice in your life is not your coach, your mentor, or your family. It's the one in your own head. If your internal language is filled with fear, doubt, and insecurity, it will contaminate every opportunity that comes your way. You might have the skills, the connections, and the open door, but if your inner dialogue is toxic, you'll either sabotage it or shrink in the moment that was designed to stretch you. That's why you must reprogram the language before you attempt to rewire your life. Changing your habits without changing your language is like painting over mold. It might look good for a while, but eventually the rot underneath will show through. The process of rewiring your internal language begins with awareness, but it continues with intention. You must speak what you want to see, not just what you do see. That doesn't mean you lie to yourself. It means you tell yourself the truth your situation hasn't caught up with yet. You speak from the future into the present. You say things like, I am focused even when your thoughts are scattered. I am disciplined even when you feel lazy. I am equipped even when you're facing something unfamiliar. Because the more you say it, the more your brain looks for evidence to support it. And here's something you must understand. Negative language doesn't just come in the form of complaints or insults. Sometimes it comes disguised as jokes, self-deprecating humor, sarcastic comments about your own value. Ooh, I'm always late. I'm terrible at that. Knowing me, I'll probably mess this up. These may seem harmless, but repetition creates reinforcement. Your brain doesn't care that you are joking. It only knows what you're feeding it. You have to stop co-signing your limitations with your language. Stop giving words to your weaknesses and start giving voice to your potential. When you say, I'm just not a confident person, you're not making a casual observation. You're writing a personal contract. Every time you say it, you sign it again. Tear that contract up. Start writing a new one. One that says, I am becoming the person I was created to be. I am capable of growth. I am not my past. I am a work in progress with purpose. Rewiring your language also means protecting your environment. If you're surrounded by people who speak negatively, who complain constantly, who use sarcasm as a weapon, their words will eventually influence yours. Words are contagious. Energy is transferable. You can't build powerful internal language in a powerless external environment. You need people around you who speak life, who remind you of truth when you forget, who reflect the future you're moving toward, not the fear you're trying to leave behind. Rewiring your internal language is not a one-time shift, it's a daily discipline. You don't just say one affirmation and expect transformation. You build it word by word, sentence by sentence, until a new voice takes root inside you, a voice that is strong, clear, aligned with your purpose, and unwilling to speak defeat over your destiny. Reclaiming your focus and attention is a non-negotiable if you want to take back your mind and your life. We live in a world that is designed to distract you. Notifications, headlines, emails, opinions. Every second something is trying to hijack your attention, and if you're not deliberate about what you focus on, you will live your life reacting instead of creating. You can't produce anything powerful while your attention is scattered. You can't build anything meaningful while your focus is borrowed by everything except your purpose. Solar is the filter that separates the important from the urgent, the meaningful from the meaningless, the mission from the noise. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they're distracted. They know what they want, but they can't stay focused long enough to build it. They're chasing 5 things at once, starting 10 projects, comparing themselves to 20 people, and finishing none of it. You weren't designed to live like that. You were built to lock in on something and bring it to completion. Reclaiming your focus starts with understanding that your attention is currency. Whatever you give it to, you're investing in. And just like with money, not all investments are equal. Some things give you a return, others drain you dry. Every time you spend an hour scrolling social media with no direction, you're making a withdrawal with no deposit. Every time you entertain negative conversations, you're financing a mindset that weakens you. You only have so much attention in a day. Stop giving it away to things that subtract from your future. You also have to decide what deserves your focus. Just because something is loud doesn't mean it's worthy. Just because something is urgent doesn't mean it's important. Focus is not just about what you say yes to, it's about what you say no to. And the higher your calling, the more ruthless your no must become. There are people, opportunities, habits, and even thought patterns that can't come with you where you're going. Fully abandon yourself to succeed. You have to be willing to let go of what's distracting you, even if it looks good, sounds good, or makes you feel good temporarily. Your focus is also shaped by your environment. You can't stay clear in a cluttered space. If your physical space is full of chaos, it's going to bleed into your mental space. Clean your room, organize your desk, clear out your inbox. Your mind craves order. It performs better in structure. Create an environment that supports the focus you say you want. Turn off the things that don't need to be on. Set up boundaries around your time, not because you're antisocial, but because you are on assignment. And let's talk about mental focus, because that's where the real battle is. Focus is not just external, it's internal discipline. It's the ability to redirect your thoughts when they wander. It's the willingness to stay with a task when it gets boring, when it gets hard, when it stops being exciting. It's easy to focus when you're motivated, but mastery comes from focusing when you're not. That's how you separate yourself. That's how you build resilience. That's how you move from chaos to clarity. You also have to audit your inputs. What are you listening to every day? What voices are shaping your focus? If all you hear is drama, confusion, and anxiety, don't be surprised when your mind feels the same. Protect your inputs. Feed your focus with truth. Consume content that aligns with your purpose. Listen to teachings that challenge your thinking and expand your vision. Your mind will follow whatever you feed it the most, so feed it with intentionality. Reclaiming your focus is about alignment. When your actions, thoughts, and energy are all aligned in the same direction, you become unstoppable. That's when things begin to flow. That's when clarity replaces confusion. That's when movement replaces stagnation. You stop jumping from thing to thing and start showing up with power in the place you were called to dominate. Eliminating distractions and energy leaks is essential if you're serious about gaining mastery over your mind. It's not just about being busy, it's about being effective. Most people confuse motion with progress. They spend their days moving, reacting, responding, but never creating, never building, never advancing. Why? Because they are surrounded by things, people, and patterns that steal their energy and fragment their attention. And when your energy is scattered, your results are scattered. You cannot lead your life with power if your power is being drained daily by things that don't serve your future. Distractions aren't always obvious. Sometimes they come disguised as good things, even necessary things. But the real test is this: does it move me closer to my purpose, or is it just keeping me busy? Energy leaks happen when you tolerate things that don't align with your values, your priorities, or your mission. It's the relationship you know is toxic, but you stay in for convenience. It's the habit you know is harmful, but you justify it as a break. It's the project you keep saying yes to, even though it pulls you away from what you're really called to do. Your energy is your most valuable resource. Not your time, not your money. Energy, because if you have time but no energy, you'll waste your hours. If you have money but no energy, you'll spend without building. High performance, creative insight, bold decision making, all of it requires energy. And if your energy is being constantly siphoned by emotional drama, unnecessary obligations, or unfiltered consumption, you're running your mind like an open faucet with a clogged drain. The flow is there, but it's not going anywhere useful. One of the most damaging energy leaks is indecision. When you sit in the middle, unsure of what to do, playing both sides of a decision, it drains you. Clarity conserves energy, ambivalence exhausts it. You've got to learn how to choose. Make a decision, take responsibility for it, and move forward. Constantly going back and forth, second guessing yourself, trying to please everyone, that is not strategic, it's destructive. It keeps your mental engine revving with no forward movement. Another massive leak is comparison. The moment you start measuring your progress against someone else's timeline, you've surrendered your focus. Comparison doesn't motivate, it paralyzes. It tells you that you're behind when you're exactly where you need to be. It steals your gratitude, and gratitude is a fuel source. When you can't see what you have, and when you're blinded by someone else's highlight reel, you forget your own process, your own assignment, your own lane. Distractions also come in the form of digital consumption, mindless scrolling, endless notifications, and constant multitasking fracture your ability to be present. You think you're unwinding, but you're actually untraining your brain to stay still. Every time you bounce from one app to another, one headline to another, you're reinforcing mental chaos. You're feeding the habit of fragmentation. And the mind, like any muscle, gets better at whatever you train it to do. If you train it to scatter, it will scatter. If you train it to focus, it will lock in. You need to start treating your mental energy like elite athletes treat their physical energy, with precision, discipline, and boundaries. That means scheduling recovery, not just hustle. It means protecting your peace like it's part of your strategy, because it is. It means choosing silence over noise, simplicity over clutter, and depth over distraction. You don't need more time in your day. You need fewer leaks in your system. Discipline is not about being harsh, it's about being free. When your energy is preserved, you show up differently, you think clearer, you act faster, you create deeper. Eliminating distractions is not about being rigid, it's about being aligned. When your energy is undivided, your results become undeniable. Rebuilding empowering routines is how you take mental chaos and replace it with momentum. You can't hope your way out of confusion, you structure your way out. Routines are not just for discipline, they're for direction. When your life feels scattered, it's usually because your days are unmanaged. A chaotic mind often comes from a chaotic rhythm. You start your day reacting instead of leading, and before noon, your mental bandwidth is gone. You're not broken, you're just disorganized. And the good news is, order can be built. Most people live on autopilot, but that autopilot was programmed by habits they didn't choose on purpose. You wake up late, check your phone first, consume other people's thoughts before you've centered your own, and then wonder why your mindset feels off. You go from task to task with no clarity, no rhythm, no intention. You don't own your schedule owns you. And if you keep waiting to feel motivated before changing it, you'll keep repeating the same cycle of mental fatigue and frustration. Routines are how you install order into your mind. They anchor your energy, sharpen your focus, and protect your priorities. When you establish a routine that is aligned with your vision, you don't need to rely on motivation. Discipline takes over. A solid routine removes the mental load of constant decision making. You don't waste energy wondering what to do next because the system is already in place. Mental clarity is not a mystery. It's often just the result of a consistent rhythm. First part of rebuilding powerful routines is your morning. How you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If the first thing you do is check messages, you've already surrendered your attention to the world. You've handed over the wheel. A strong morning routine creates a buffer between you and the noise. It gives you time to align your thoughts, clarify your priorities, and position yourself mentally before anything external tries to pull you off track. Whether it's prayer, journaling, reading, or exercise, what matters most is that your morning is intentional. Don't let randomness shape your reality. Your routine should also include time blocks that reflect your values. If growth is a value, schedule time to learn. If health is a value, build in movement. If creativity is a value, protect space to create. Don't just say something matters. Make time for it. What gets scheduled gets strengthened, and what gets neglected gets weakened. You can't keep saying you want clarity, focus, or peace while making no space for the habits that produce them. We also need to factor in boundaries as part of your routine. Boundaries are not just about saying no to people. They're about saying yes to yourself. If your evenings are filled with chaos, scrolling, or burnout recovery, it's because you haven't structured your shutdown. Just like your morning needs order, your night needs closure. End your day with intention, not just exhaustion. Reflect on what worked, what didn't, and how you'll adjust. Don't carry the weight of unfinished thoughts into your sleep. Let your mind breathe. Routines are not about perfection. Life happens. Schedules shift and seasons change. But even in uncertainty, a flexible structure is better than none. You don't have to do everything at once. Start small. Anchor one habit. Reclaim 1 hour. Protect one part of your day and expand from there. What matters is that your routine serves your mind, your goals, and your future, not your fears, your past, or your distraction. When your routines are empowered, your mind begins to trust you. Instead of chaos, there's confidence. Instead of mental noise, there's internal rhythm. You stop running on adrenaline and start moving with alignment. You're no longer guessing your way through the day, you're guiding it with purpose. Aligning belief with intention is where transformation begins. You can't say you want clarity, purpose, and peace while holding beliefs that contradict those outcomes. Your beliefs are the blueprint and your intentions are the action plan. If the blueprint is flawed, the structure will never stand. Many people set powerful goals, speak inspiring affirmations, and make bold declarations, but underneath all of that is a belief system built on fear, doubt, and limitation. And no matter how strong the intention, the belief will win every time. Belief is not just what you say out loud. It's what you hold to be true when no one is watching. It's the internal script that runs beneath your conscious thoughts. If you believe deep down that you're not worthy, that you'll never break through, that your past defines you, then you will subconsciously sabotage every opportunity that contradicts that belief. You'll hesitate, procrastinate, or settle, not because you don't have the potential, but because your belief system wasn't built to support your next level. This is why so many people feel stuck. They think they need more motivation, more time, or more resources. But what they really need is alignment. You can't build a new life on top of an old mindset. You can't walk in power while carrying the weight of old conclusions about who you are. Belief is the foundation. Intention is the movement. When they are aligned, momentum is natural. When they're misaligned, you live in internal conflict, wanting one thing while believing another. Aligning belief with intention starts with radical honesty. You have to expose the beliefs you've been carrying, many of which were formed years ago through pain, disappointment, or fear, and ask yourself if they still serve your future. Beliefs are not facts. They are interpretations. And interpretations can be changed. You may have believed that failure defines you, but what if it was simply feedback? You may have believed that you're too late, too old, too broken, but what if that was a lie disguised as logic? Beliefs are choices, and you have the authority to choose again. Once you identify the limiting belief, you must replace it with one that aligns with your intention. That doesn't mean pretending or faking confidence. It means intentionally building new evidence that supports the version of you you're becoming. Belief grows through repetition and experience. When you act in alignment with your new belief, even when it feels unfamiliar, you begin to rewire your mind. You start to prove to yourself that change is not just possible, it's happening. This process requires consistency. It's not enough to declare your new belief once. You have to reinforce it daily. Speak it, write it, visualize it, live it. Surround yourself with environments and people that affirm it. Every action you take that aligns with your belief strengthens it. Every compromise you make against it weakens it. That's why alignment is not just a concept, it's a practice. You also have to be aware of the subtle ways misalignment shows up. It's in the language you use, saying, I hope, when you really mean, I doubt. It's in the way you prepare, under-planning because you don't believe you'll succeed. It's in your posture, your tone, your presence. When belief and intention are aligned, there's a different energy behind everything you do. It's focused, unapologetic, and full of authority. Alignment doesn't mean perfection. It means integrity. It means your inner world and outer actions are working in the same direction. You don't have to force results when belief and intention are aligned. You attract opportunities that match your mindset. You move with clarity because your mind is no longer at war with your mission. You're not chasing approval or reacting to fear. You're executing from truth. You know who you are, and everything you do flows from that knowing.